Finally, somebody is sick of Command's BS. Finally, somebody's sick of. I've been like for the last, I don't know, like 4 episodes, been talking about the aspect that it always seems like whenever they go out to do a mission, Command always leaves them hanging every single time. And finally, we get a character A2 who doesn't like it anymore. They abandoned me, they betrayed me, and now she's fed up with it. Creating a new faction. We now have the rebelling Yora faction, I guess, being created. But again, at least with this perspective, I fully 100% support this faction because Command never helps them. And technically, as we've seen, again, and I'm assuming A2 is number 2. It seems like the obvious. Being the first number 2 would be designated as A2 if a 2B was created. I don't know what the switching of the letters is, though. I would assume that she would be called 2A, but maybe there's a reason. Maybe it's flipped because they're a betrayer. I don't know. Maybe we'll get an explanation as to why the numbers and the letters do what they do. But again, my assumption is that the first would be A, and she's a 2 model. And then again, 2B is the second of the B models, so which makes me see that there's a lot of S's. But no, again, I completely agree with her. Like, if this is number 2, she was technically abandoned, and they essentially betrayed the Resistance. I mean, the Resistance trusted them, and the Resistance themselves was massacred. You would assume that number 2 would be hating the bunker at this point and hating Command because Command pretty much abandoned them. Got them all killed, except for Lily. Lily, of course, survived, but still, she was left there and been fighting for a long time. And now the Command is pretty much throwing shade at her by calling her a betrayer of the Council of Humanity and claiming that she is a deserter and that she must be destroyed. Pretty screwed up. I don't blame A2 for not liking Command at this point. But again, it's interesting that it creates another faction and the possibility of sort of swaying possibly even 2B and 9S towards her direction, the idea of, again, Command doesn't seem to give a crap about you. And it's sort of adding to the question mark that's created at the very beginning of this episode. 9S is finally asking, wait, whatever happened with that whole thing with that anomaly that we found? We found, obviously Adam and Eve. We haven't heard anything about them since then. Why hasn't Command said anything about their analysis of that situation? And then when they go to ask, 6-0. When they ask 6-0 what's going on with that, she's like, oh, I don't have any information about that. I have no clearance for that. Peace out. Lilies, lunar lily tier thing majiggies. Check those out. Again, it's instilling upon 9S that there's not a clear idea of what's going on here, and it seems like they're keeping stuff from us. And then at the same time, to ask us to kill one of our own who's been betrayed is starting to big up that big question mark and maybe instill upon the idea of 9S no longer wanting to trust the council itself, or at least Command. But yeah, the fight itself was really cool. It was really fast, though. I think that's the only unfortunate thing. I was like, oh, cool, sweet. Yora versus Yora. This is going to be sweet. And then it's just like, it's done in like no time. Sword breaks, runs away. I'm being betrayed, runs off. It was a little bit of a letdown. It still looked really cool, though. And I really dig her outfit. I was actually surprised because I thought this episode was going to end on them running into Adam. Because the episode opens up with Adam and Eve talking to each other and Eve being as dorky as usual. But Adam talking about the idea of essence and pretty much the idea of lives themselves not being predetermined. If you think about it, a machine itself is always built to do a certain task. So for a machine life form, or in this case, an anomaly, they're going to obviously see that the idea or the concepts that humans have that whenever they're born, they don't have a predetermined path. It's based on their decisions, and what they do is what they end up doing in their life and the legacies they leave behind. Whereas again, it's completely foreign to the mindset of a machine where they're built and produced to do one specific task, whether it be to destroy things, build something, or whatnot. So it's an interesting idea to pose to a machine that concept. But either way, at the kind of the conclusion of their conversation, Adam says he's going somewhere. And Eve freaks out. Oh, let's play together, like usual. But Adam says he's going to be right back. And so I assumed that Adam was going to go to see 2B or 9S. Because yes, I have to admit that when they enter this big old open area, my mind immediately goes to video game arena. There's going to be a battle here, so I assumed that it was going to be Adam, but I didn't really fit the idea of the scars that all the machines had. The scars on the machines made me believe that it was going to be somebody like 2B, so it was kind of making me believe that it was probably going to be number 2. I just didn't see Adam wielding a blade unless he found one. But no, Adam and Eve continue to be creepy as hell. Every scene with the two of them is always creepy, and I'm not looking forward to the moment that Eve or Adam ends up running into 2B. Like I mentioned before, I don't know which one's more creepy, the overly smart machine or the dorky, immature machine. But no, the next thing we had was 2B and 9S talking to Pascal. Apparently, the big sister was wanting to find the little sister, and it apparently went off to this kingdom to get some sort of parts for him. And there was a dorky, absolutely dorky scene. I like the idea of the comedy they can sort of have with Pascal and the other robots, and how they're just throwing a fit, and Pascal's constantly trying to see if 2B and 9S are giving in to helping them out. And yes, technically, I've seen it. The video of Yoko Taro selling this T-shirt and rolling around the ground was pretty much 1-for-1 between the two of them. Yoko Taro's weird. He's very weird. And yes, to have a robot, I don't know which one came first. If that was in the video game first, was the rolling around, and so he acted it out in the selling of the T-shirt, or if it was the other way around. I would assume it's him acting out the scene in the game. But I got a kick out of the fact that at some point the robot starts crying tears of joy, and you see this like oil coming out. It's dorky. It was stupid dorky. But no, this kind of came into a conversation about the idea of what makes a robot or a living thing, and the idea that Pascal has been switching out parts in order to facilitate something. So Pascal's flying 2B and 9S over to the kingdom, and the entire time they're wondering, oh, well, you just switch out parts. At what point do you lose what makes you you? Which makes perfect sense to Pascal. Yeah, technically, if you remove the wings from a bird, is it still a bird? And Pascal's talking about the fact that he can replace his body with a chainsaw or a boat or something like that. Some goofy shots. But 2B does kind of ground the conversation, the idea that as long as you remain who you are, that's all that really matters, which Pascal believes is the heart. The heart is what makes you what you are, which doesn't make sense to a physical standpoint because obviously they don't have hearts. Androids don't have hearts, and machine life forms don't have hearts, like a physical heart. I was kind of assuming they were going to go in the direction of the metaphorical heart, the heart that is what you are, your beliefs and what you stand for, what makes you tick. But yes, they go into the kingdom, eventually find a bunch of memory slot thingy-majiggies. And I like the fact that every single time it was some time in the past, it was always by binaries. So it's like the first one is when the king first established the kingdom. It was 256. I was like, immediately when I seen that, I'm like, they're going to go by binaries, aren't they? And yeah, sure enough, the next one was like 128 years ago, which again is like, it's always in twos and pairs, binaries. And then 128 years is when he died, and then 4 hours ago is when they got attacked by A2. But no, we had a nice tsundere moment from 9S, which I got a kick out of. At some point, 9S was going to go fall down this bridge, and Pascal caught him. And sure enough, 9S finally trusts Pascal and tries to help find where the sister was by using his pod, which apparently this robot wants to get married with a random knight that she ran into inside of the kingdom. So sure, okay. But first we need to save the king. Can you please save the king? We're not handymen. Where are they at? 2B! Like 2B is such a softie. Like the entire episode, 9S is calling 2B a super softie. The other interesting thing in this episode was the ending. What? Like it was like some major like poetry stuff, like super obscure. Apparently having Pascal talking to the villagers about this kingdom of the day and the kingdom of the night. And they're a part of the kingdom of the day where essentially the star is never obscured, which is the sun. And then he mentioned the idea of the kingdom of the night, which is one where the light never reaches, and that a giant creature called a dragon was soaring through the sky. And then he gets killed by A2, which apparently in this bad end, A2 kills Pascal, and the villagers in this peaceful village, they apparently go out and they destroy all the androids. So it's this bad end is insinuating that the robots of this one village, this peaceful village, could annihilate all the androids, which, sure, okay, apparently they're super passionate or super strong, I don't know. All for the sake of Pascal, they will destroy the world of androids. But again, I don't really know what they're talking about with the idea of the kingdom of the day and kingdom of the night. I want to say we've had nighttime in this world, or maybe I've just never noticed it before. Maybe there has never been a point which it's nighttime in this world. I thought I've seen nighttime in the world, but maybe it could just be talking about a location itself. Maybe they're in an area that has an artificial light. I don't know. It was just a very odd symbolisms when it comes to a kingdom of day and a kingdom of night. Maybe it's just some random folklore, but it seemed like the robots were acknowledging it. Like, yes, it would be really scary if it was nighttime. What is nighttime? Oh, it's when the light goes away. Oh, that's scary. And insinuates there has been points where there's no night. I'm gonna go back and check out the episodes. I swear I remember seeing nighttime at least shown at some point. But then again, what is a dragon? Is that planes? Is that a spaceship? Anyways, solid episode. Like I said, my nugget here is really A2. I think the idea of a Yor that's completely fed up with the system and what the command is doing, because again, I've been saying it for a long time. I think command is terrible and how they send them out to die and never ever send reinforcements. But again, I always acknowledge the idea that it's possible they don't have reinforcements to send, but limited resources. But anyways, that's my thoughts on episode 7 of NieR Automata. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, make sure to hit that like button down below, comment, let me know what you thought of the episode. As per usual, I don't need spoilers from the game itself, so if I'm posing a question and the answer is later on, I don't need it. Additionally, if you're new to the channel, make sure to hit the subscribe button so you got my content. I do news, reviews, first impressions, top list if it's anime, it's pretty much here. Additionally, if you want to support the channel more, we have a Patreon link, a tips link, and a super thanks button down below. I greatly appreciate it. Supports the channel. It means so much to me, and y'all take care.